Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and here's your detailed weather forecast update for Monday the 28th of July 2025. We've had some pretty significant severe weather over the course of the weekend, both in the southwest and in the southeast of the nation, though thankfully the severe weather threat for either side is now beginning to wane off, with all severe weather warnings over in the eastern states being dropped and a very small fraction of the West Australian coastline currently under a severe weather warning. We do have plenty of rainfall on the forecast, and it's going to be places where you don't really want the rainfall through New South Wales and Queensland, so all the details on these weather events plus more coming up in today's weather forecast update. If you are brand new to the channel, please do consider subscribing, but let's get stuck straight into things this morning, just with a brief weather update on what's going on. Just starting things off over into the southeast of the nation, that massive weather system that dominated the scene since Friday, that's now beginning to fall apart, and as you can see on the latest satellite imagery, it is a multi-vortex low pressure system with multiple areas of low pressure connected to a big frontal band that's very much disconnected and disassociated from the main low pressure system, but also associated in the same sort of way. It's a very complex and large weather system here with a whole lot of moving parts to it, but you can see heaps of low pressure vortices, one down here, one up here, one over there, one here, and probably a few more embedded within these clouds that I haven't been able to spot the satellite imagery unless I really zoom in here. And New Zealand is expecting a good amount of rainfall and also some strong winds, especially out of the north and the northeast from this weather system here throughout the course of today. But in terms of impacts for Australia, apart from a few cloud and showers moving into New South Wales, especially into the foothills region of the Great Dividing Range around Wagga Wagga and Young, and a few showers moving up a little bit further north of those locations, accompanied by some stronger winds to some higher elevations, and also some stronger winds and showers moving into the Bass Strait and the west coast of Tasmania. There really isn't an awful lot in the way of impacts coming in from this weather system here. It's not really cold, it's not really windy, it's not really wet. It is just stock standard winter weather occurring across southeastern Australia this morning. Very good to see at this time of the year. The showers and the rainfall very welcome, that's for sure. But yeah, nothing to be talking about in the way of severe weather from this weather system. A complex low pressure system and still a very large low pressure system in nature with a pressure of 991 millibars, but it is now beginning to move away from the Australian coastline. This was never expected to be a severe weather system. It's been a weekend of me tearing my head out from its roots, reading some of the comments about how this is not a monster weather system, the winds haven't been that strong. It was never meant to be a strong weather system. It was never meant to have incredibly strong winds or incredibly heavy rainfall. It was meant to be a very, very large weather system with not so comparatively strong winds or significant severe weather impacts. It was just meant to be a typical winter's weather front that came in the body of an absolute whopper, and it did extend across Australia. The forecast absolutely nailed this system here, and I feel like I did a pretty good job as well. So if you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. But reading those comments saying that this system is not producing the strong winds that forecasts, not just my forecasts, were saying, they were really, really frustrating, that's for sure. Into the southwest of Western Australia, we do have a much stronger and much smaller weather system situated south of the southwest coastline. You can see this system here, pressure of 995 millibars, moving through with that cold front that's now sweeping across the south interior, in fact making it up to about Laverton in central Western Australia through the goldfields. Heaps of showers to talk about across the southwest and the lower west as well. In fact, heaps of rainfall has made it north of Perth overnight in an area that typically doesn't get too much rainfall from these winter weather systems. So areas north of Perth up to about Jurien Bay have just copped a line of showers that have persisted more or less on and off for the last 3 or 4 hours, and some really healthy rainfall accumulations have moved into the Perth metro area and especially into the western and the northern suburbs. Typically not the places that pick up the bulk of the winter weather rainfall coming in from systems like this, but again, very good to see, and it is just going to tip those scales in the favour of those locations that have been outdone by more southerly based locations or hills locations, if that makes sense. Some showers still streaming in from the coastline this morning. They're heavy at times, but again, nothing severe. Winds are still quite fresh along the coastline. They're almost gale force at Rottnest Island this morning, 55 kilometres an hour out of the south, 48 at Cape Lewin here in the southwest Capes, and there is a severe weather warning currently active for damaging wind gusts in excess of 100 kilometres an hour between just towards the west of Albany, actually out around Denmark, through Albany, and then up to around Bremer Bay or Hopetown. And it doesn't include Esperance, but I imagine Esperance will be included in that severe weather warning later this afternoon into this evening. Winds will get quite strong out of the southwest and the west in these regions, but apart from that, we're not expecting anything too crazy. Showers will persist throughout the remainder of this morning and into this afternoon, but they're going to contract further away from the coastline, from the Perth coastline here. Showers will persist into early this afternoon for areas north of Perth, but again, easing off pretty much by this evening. The strong low pressure system is going to wrap up its backside, and that's going to push a line of showers and damaging winds ashore after about lunchtime between Albany up to around Esperance. Apart from that, though, it's just going to remain very cold across the southwest. In fact, tonight's going to remain very cold, that's for sure. And with these showers and these storms that are going to move through in the wake of this low pressure system, tonight is probably the best chance to see some snowfall onto the higher elevations in the Stirling Ranges. There is a good chance the freezing altitude is going to be low enough, and we can actually check that right now, considering there's not an awful lot to talk about in the weather world in terms of monstrous severe weather systems. So I'm going going to really go into a bit of a in detailed snow forecast here, where this is the temperature at the 900 meter altitude here above sea level. So this is where we are looking at kind of the freezing altitude here. Now, typically snowfall occurs in temperatures of about 2 or 3 degrees or below that. So this is a little bit warm here, but I do imagine that that's just because of the forecast modeling resolution here. If we take a look at the much higher resolution forecast modeling here, temperatures are actually a little bit colder, and they're a little bit colder closer to the Stirling ranges as well. There's definitely going to be that chance of snowfall through tonight. These showers will get heavy at times, and especially into early tomorrow morning as well, there will be that slim chance of snowfall on the Stirling ranges. Temperatures are going to get quite cold into some of the higher elevations around Bluff Knoll, and we can definitely is a good chance of seeing some snowfall dustings up there. It's not going to be anything crazy, of course, but a couple of centimeters is most certainly a possibility tonight into early tomorrow morning. Probably a better chance tonight into tomorrow morning than we've had yesterday night into this morning, and also just at any point during this year as well. It is definitely a good chance of some snowfall accumulations. Let's move on into the forecast aspect of this forecast update now and have a look at this cloud here that's moving through the Northern Territory into the northern half of South Australia. There's some fresher winds associated with it, and you can also see temperatures are a little bit more mild than what they normally would be at this time of the year. In fact, 20 degrees here. Oh, that's a ship observation. That's a dodgy observation there. Should have known that that was an outlier, but 14 degrees at Kintore here on the Northern Territory WA border. Definitely is a little bit warmer than average. That means that there is a little bit of energy coming down from the tropics, and that's going to meet with this low pressure system here to provide some rainfall from tonight into tomorrow morning across interior parts of South Australia and the Northern Territory as well. In fact, a few showers are expected to pipe up in the next couple of hours or so. This rainfall will be dragged into the northern and the northeastern corner of South Australia, including Lake Eyre and right up towards the Queensland border around Birdsville. These showers here aren't expected to be anything too heavy. It's just going to be that drizzly stuff that hangs around for a little bit. A few millimeters is possible. We're not expecting anything more than about 5 or 6 millimeters in these locations here, but all in all, it's been a very wet month for this region of South Australia and the Northern Territory. Rainfall accumulation has been far above average, and I know that these locations don't pick up much rainfall, especially at this time of the year, but it has been steady soaking rainfall over the last couple of times, and I can count probably about 3 or 4 rainfall events in the last 2 months for these regions. So again, very good to see, that's for sure. Into tomorrow morning, we'll see that low pressure system that's currently giving Western Australia all those problems move into the Eyre Peninsula of South Australia. That'll drag up some rainfall with it. It's going to expand into a much larger low pressure system, and showers are expected pretty much between a line that's going to extend from the Eyre Peninsula through the western half of New South Wales and the northwestern corner of Victoria, and then into south central parts of Queensland. In fact, with showers expected to make it as far north as Longreach. So you can see here on this map, there is a very wide expanse of showers expected, mostly over agricultural communities as well through South Australia, and especially into New South Wales' southwest and Victoria's northwest as well. And some good showers also expected across more rural parts of Queensland as well. This rainfall is going to ease off and move further towards the east through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and showers are going to contract to a line between Longreach down to Roma in Queensland through Wednesday morning, and then again across kind of this low pressure system centre around Cobar, Dubbo, Orange, Griffith, Wagga Wagga, those sort of locations through early Wednesday morning, with some snowfall accumulations expected with some cooler winds coming in from the south, also possible onto the higher elevations through the snow mountains in New South Wales. And then further north, we could be seeing the chances of snow as far north as the Barrington Tops outside of Newcastle, but again, a very light dusting is anticipated there. It will be cold. There will be a few showers around. It definitely looks like the snowfall chances are going to be there. And this will lead me nicely on into the big part of the forecast. It's going to be a bit of a changeover period that we're going to have coming in after about the 30th or 31st of July, so just in a couple of days now. As you might be able to tell, there's going to be a lot less big-time winter weather systems coming through for our southern states, and what that normally means is we get moisture dragged down from the Coral Sea into the Tasman Sea, and that's where we have our big chances for east coast lows or storms offshore from New South Wales and Queensland that can provide rainfall. It is kind of just a double-edged sword. In winter, you either get smashed by significant severe weather winter systems, which we would expect at this time of the year, or New South Wales and Queensland cop a boatload of rainfall. There's kind of no in between, and especially with the warm state of the East Australian current this season, and especially last season as well, it definitely has been the case for the last couple of years. So let's talk about what we're expecting right now. Wednesday into Thursday, moisture is going to begin to develop into the Tasman Sea. We're not expecting a full-blown east coast low to develop, or even a full-blown low pressure system to develop, so I want to get that idea out of everybody's heads right now. Significant severe weather is not expected, but showers are expected along the New South Wales coastline, piping ramping up from Wednesday afternoon, persisting right through Thursday, and then again as this low pressure system pushes more showers and more volumes of water into the coastline, a bit of a lull Thursday night, and then again with these showers and storms resurging through Friday and into Saturday as a proper low pressure system begins to develop across the northeast of the state. This has been on the forecast modelling for the last couple of days now, but we are expecting a proper mature low pressure system to develop into the first couple of days of August, and that's most likely to occur offshore from the northeast of New South Wales around Coffs Harbour or Lismore. That will funnel in some heavy showers here and there. At this point in time, we're not looking at an east coast low or even a strong significant severe weather system that's going to bring damaging winds to a widespread swathe of the northeast of New South Wales, but Friday, Saturday and Sunday could be wet across the northeast of the state, across much of the state's coast, but especially into the northeast of the state and also possibly into the southeast of Queensland as well. This will then be pushed offshore, which is a trend that we've seen so far this winter season. A lot of these storms, they reach maturity around New South Wales, but then they get pushed offshore, and the worst of the storm gets sent out towards Lord Howe Island or Norfolk Island or even down towards New Zealand, and then the system here follows that exact same fate through the early parts of next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the 4th to the 6th of August respectively. Now, it is still a little bit too early to be telling exactly what we're expecting nitty-gritty from this weather system here, but 5-day rainfall accumulations this weekend, including Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, between the 30th of July out to the 4th of August inclusive. We do have some healthy numbers now across the New South Wales coastline. This isn't really what we were looking out for on the forecast modelling because we don't really need the rainfall into the northeast of New South Wales. They still definitely need a couple of months of dry weather to really dry them out ahead of their wet season, but we're looking at least 100 millimetres of rainfall coming through for a wide swathe of the coastline, south of the Gold Coast in Queensland, right down to probably Ulladulla or even Narooma into the southeast of the state, and that does include Sydney and pretty much everywhere in between those locations. Isolated rainfall accumulations on Friday and Saturday could be 100 millimetres a day, leading to weekend rainfall accumulations up to 250 millimetres. There's heaps of energy out there. There's heaps of moisture in the East Australian current, and again, with the sea temperatures running much higher than average for this time of the year, and with plenty of moisture expected to be dragged down through Friday from Queensland, especially on the Queensland coastline. I'll get to this in just a second. The conditions are really beginning to line up now for what could be a relatively wet low pressure system situated just offshore from the northeast coast of New South Wales. Take this forecast with a heavy pinch of salt. There are some major discrepancies between other forecast modelling. The GFS and the ESMLF are calling for pretty much the exact same thing on the forecast modelling in terms of rainfall location, but not so much in terms of accumulations. The ICON's calling for actually some really significant and heavy rainfall accumulations to develop north of Sydney, not really a forecast that I want to come into fruition. And the Axis is also calling for some pretty heavy rainfall accumulations, but a little bit further south. There still are some discrepancies at this point in time, but I can say with a high degree of certainty that we are definitely looking out for some rainfall over the northeast of New South Wales at some point between the 30th of July out to about the 3rd or the 4th of August. It's still a wildcard forecast, and we'll need tomorrow to really hammer home the details, but I should be having a detailed forecast update on this at some point this week, where I'll be breaking down all of the details from this weather system. But a perfect storm of combining moisture and then already very much present warm moisture situated offshore from New South Wales is going to give way to some healthy rainfall accumulations. That's the same case of the central Queensland coastline as well. We're expecting some decent rainfall to begin developing along the central Queensland coastline from Thursday night into Friday. In fact, Friday looking to be quite a wet one across much of Queensland, with rainfall clearing out as quickly as it pipes up on Saturday. So with Friday expected to be wet, widespread accumulations between Cairns along the Cassowary coast, right down through Townsville, Bowen, Mackay, and then down towards Rockhampton, Gladstone, Bundaberg, Agnes Water, and then down towards the northern reaches of the Sunshine Coast. We're looking at between 10 to 50 millimetres of rainfall developing on Friday. The highest accumulations are definitely expected to be closer to that 50 millimetre mark, but widespread falls within 100 kilometres of the coastline between 10 to 50 millimetres. Friday with that solid rain band that's going to develop and then move through this part of Queensland with the on and off moderate falls, we're definitely going to be looking at some healthy rainfall accumulations. Again, it's typical weather for what we would see, or what we would normally expect at this time of the year. It's not expected to be anything too crazy, but again, with just this moderate rainfall that's expected to be on and off within 100 or 150 kilometres of the coastline, there is definitely that risk of some heavier falls developing here and there. The chances of the heaviest rainfall is going to be in that Wide Bay area in the Whitsunday south of Mackay down to Rockhampton. In this little pocket here, that's where up towards 50 millimetres is possible, and then again around the Cardwell Gap into the Cassowary coast, again up to 50 millimetres is possible in those locations, but for the most part expect 10 millimetres. Anything that occurs on top of that is going to be bonus rainfall. We're not expecting flash flooding or flooding to be a concern. The rainfall is just not going to be heavy enough, and then again into the southeast corner of Queensland where rainfall is not really welcome, especially right now. There's not an awful lot of rainfall on the forecast for those locations either, and you can actually see that on the forecast modelling here. The pocket around Brisbane and the Gold Coast is actually one of the driest pockets along the Queensland coastline in the next 14 days. It isn't purely tropical. We're looking at some pretty light falls in those regions there, so for the most part it looks like Brisbane is going to dodge the worst of the rainfall here, and rainfall is going to occur in some locations that don't really need it but aren't going to flood as a result of 50 millimetres coming through in a relatively short period of time. Friday looking to be wet, but apart from that, either side Thursday and Sunday not looking to be too bad at this point in time, and Queensland will return to their sunny weather that they expect at this time of the year as quickly as it left them. So whilst there's not an awful lot to be talking about Australia right now, there's still stuff on the forecast, and the long-range forecast is, I can imagine, really starting to heat up as well as we get out towards September and October. In just a month or two away, we're going to be looking at some more severe storms here and there across Queensland and New South Wales. The conditions are definitely going to start to deteriorate for some of these tropical locations, so these forecast videos are going to become a whole lot more interesting in that time period. A special shout out goes out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now, and again, I could not run the show without them, so their support is, of course, much appreciated. Their names are mentioned at this time in the video, and if you too want to get your name mentioned at this part of the video as well, click the join button down below. It's the best way to financially support the CyclonesOZ channel, and it's a reason to like to stay on here. So thank you so much to all of the channel sponsors, and if you have found this video informative or helpful, and preferably both, then please do consider subscribing and leave a like on the video while you're at it as well. The support there has also been greatly appreciated lately. But that is going to be all from me for your Monday morning. Have a great week, and I'll catch you on the next storm. Goodbye.